The Last Stand of Atlantis by Eugene Mathena. The sky above was a sickly orange, streaked with the violent flashes of malfunctioning nuclear reactors. Mr. Fiero struggled with the keystone device, sweat beading down his forehead. Lady Jane stood beside him, keeping an eye on their surroundings. Buildings crumbled in the distance, the atmosphere thick with despair. Lady Jane, urgently. Fiero, we're out of time. The reactors are going critical. This whole planet's about to turn into a fireball. Mr. Fiero, gritting his teeth. I know, Jane, I know. But the keystone device is still recalibrating. Just a few more seconds. The ground beneath them shook violently. Lady Jane stumbled, catching herself on a railing as the roar of explosions grew louder. In the distance, massive pillars of smoke and fire rose into the sky. Greg, a friend from the doomed planet, voice crackling through the comms. You've got less than a minute, boss. We can't hold the ship any longer. It's time to jump. Mr. Fiero. Almost there, Greg. Just hang tight. Chris, Tommy, prepare for an emergency exit. Suddenly, the device glowed, filling the air with a soft hum. Chris, Tommy, and Greg melting with a flash of radiation. Mr. Fiero grabbing Lady Jane's hand. Our friends are dead, but you and I are going to make it. Now, hold on to me, Jane. In a flash of blinding light, the world around them vanished, and the two were catapulted through the endless corridors of time. Mr. Fiero and Lady Jane materialized on the edge of a breathtaking city. Golden spires and shimmering buildings stretched out before them, surrounded by lush greenery and crystal-clear rivers. But something felt off. The air was colder than it should be, the wind biting against their skin. Lady Jane, looking around. Where are we? This doesn't look like any Earth I recognize. Mr. Fiero, eyes widening. No, this isn't just any Earth. Jane, we're in Atlantis. Before them stood a massive gathering of people, all facing a raised platform where a man, dressed in gleaming robes, stood with his arms outstretched. His voice echoed across the city, an Atlantean named Pulsar. Pulsar, booming voice. The old ways are dead. Father Time, the master of what you see in the physical realm, has blessed me with the power to change the very fabric of reality. I am your God now. Worship me, and I will save you from the coming storm. The crowd cheered wildly, their eyes filled with fanatical devotion, arms stretched out in salute to their deliverer. Subliminal messages flashing alongside Pulsar with his every word, almost in musical rhythm with his voice, as a song. Lady Jane, whispering. He's brainwashed them. They don't realize he's leading them straight to their doom. Mr. Fiero. We need to find a way to stop him before it's too late. Mr. Fiero and Lady Jane quickly began seeking out those who hadn't fallen under Pulsar's spell. In the shadows of the city's grand structures, they found Fred, Terry, Davy, Roger, Bobby, Tina, Mark, Barry, Andy, and Dale, Atlanteans who believed in the truth. Fred, grimly. Pulsar's power is growing every day. He's using Father Time's energy to manipulate the seasons, to change time itself. But we know the truth. Atlantis is moving south. It's getting colder by the minute. Lady Jane. We need to get as many people out of here as possible. This place is going to freeze over soon, and when it does, nothing will survive. Roger, nodding. There are still thousands of us who believe, but Pulsar has millions under his control. He's planning some kind of mass ritual to solidify his godhood. We don't have much time. Mr. Fiero, we'll get them out. We have the Keystone device. We can bring them to safety back to Earth in 1862, but we'll need to act fast. The day of Pulsar's ritual arrived. The air had grown even colder, frost beginning to coat the ground. Pulsar stood atop a mountain of ice, surrounded by millions of his followers, chanting his name as thousands of unbelievers were losing their heads with the plectra of guillotines Pulsar had commanded to be there as a fear tactic during his speech. Men, women, and children butchered if they didn't kneel before Pulsar. But in the distance, Mr. Fiero, Lady Jane, and their group moved swiftly, gathering as many believers as they could, ready to make their escape. Pulsar laughing maniacally. Witness as I ascend to godhood. Soon, the entire world will bow to me. But just as the ritual reached its climax, a massive crack echoed through the continent. The ground shook, and the temperature dropped drastically. Pulsar's eyes widened in fear. Mr. Fiero, yelling to his group, now, activate the Keystone device. The device roared to life, pulling thousands of Atlanteans toward it. Fred, Terry, Davy, and the others rushed forward, leading the escapees to the ship. Lady Jane to the escaping Atlanteans. Hurry, this whole place is about to freeze solid. But many refused to leave, their devotion to Pulsar sealing their fate. As the cold consumed the continent, millions froze where they stood, their bodies locked in eternal worship of a false god. Then in 1862 California, the sun shone warmly over the rolling hills as the survivors from Atlantis emerged from the Keystone device, blinking in the bright light. The landscape was foreign to them, golden plains and towering mountains, a far cry from the lush and frozen lands they had left behind. But with every breath, they felt a new sense of freedom, away from the iron grip of Pulsar. As the Atlanteans milled around in awe of their new home, a woman with a commanding presence stepped forward. Her name was Decidian, and though her journey had been filled with terror and uncertainty, her resolve was stronger than ever. She was tall, with long flowing dark hair, and her piercing eyes radiated leadership. She knew that the transition for her people would be difficult, but she was determined to help them find hope in this strange new world. Decidian, raising her voice. My friends, my family, we have escaped a frozen death, and though this land is strange to us, it is our new beginning. The crowd grew silent, listening to her powerful words. Decidian continued, we must work together, as we did in Atlantis. We will build homes, plant crops, and learn the ways of this new world. Do not fear what is unknown. Instead, embrace the opportunity for a future free from lies and tyranny. Fred, stepping forward with a smile. She's right. This is our chance to start again, to live in peace. Terry, nodding. We've survived the end of our world. Now let's make this one ours. Decidian led the way, organizing groups to gather materials for shelter and showing a deep care for her people's well-being. Mr. Fiero and Lady Jane stood back, watching with pride as the Atlanteans began their new lives. Lady Jane softly, she's a natural leader, isn't she? Mr. Fiero nodding. She'll keep them safe. Decidian has the courage to lead her people into the future. The Atlanteans were in good hands with Decidian at the helm, but Mr. Fiero and Lady Jane had unfinished business. The two exchanged a knowing glance before stepping back toward the still glowing keystone device. Back in Atlantis, the icy doom Mr. Fiero and Lady Jane reappeared in Atlantis. The once lush and vibrant continent was now locked in a deep freeze. Ice covered every building, and the streets were silent, save for the howling wind. Pulsar's frozen followers stood like statues, entombed forever in the icy grip of their frozen faith in man. Lady Jane, shivering slightly. It's hard to believe this was once the most advanced civilization on Earth. Mr. Fiero somberly. History has a way of erasing even the greatest of nations. Atlantis is gone now, and soon this land will drift south, becoming what the world will one day call Antarctica. They walked through the frozen ruins, tying up the final loose ends of their mission. Mr. Fiero deactivated any remnants of the time-disrupting technology Pulsar had used, ensuring that Atlantis' fate would remain sealed. Lady Jane, looking at the vast, icy expanse. People in the future will never know what really happened here. They'll think of Atlantis as just a legend, a myth. Mr. Fiero, with a half-smile. Perhaps that's for the best. Let them chase the stories. The truth can sometimes be too much for the world to handle. With a final look at the frozen remains of Atlantis, the two activated the keystone device once more, leaving the doomed continent behind. Back in 2024, in a small classroom in Alabama, Mr. Fiero was a guest speaker. The classroom was full of excited school children, eagerly listening to the tales of Mr. Fiero. Standing before them, dressed in his signature coat and bow tie, he spun stories of adventure, mystery, and history. Mr. Fiero, with a smile. And that's how Lady Jane and I found ourselves in the middle of a collapsing civilization, Atlantis, frozen in time. The children stared at him in awe, wide-eyed and curious. Near the back of the room, a young boy raised his hand. He was small, with dark hair and bright eyes that sparkled with interest. Boy, nervously. Mr. Fiero, my great-great-great-grandmother's name was Decidian. She always told stories about how our family came from somewhere special. Mr. Fiero paused, his eyes locking onto the boy. A wave of recognition passed over his face as memories of Decidian flooded back. She had been one of the bravest leaders he had ever met, guiding her people through a time of great peril. Mr. Fiero, softly, almost to himself. Decidian. Yes, she was a remarkable woman, a true leader. He knelt down to the boy's level, his voice filled with warmth and pride. Mr. Fiero, your great-great-great-grandmother was brave beyond words. She helped save thousands of lives and gave them a future when all seemed lost. Lady Jane, who had been quietly observing, smiled and placed a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder. Lady Jane, you carry that same courage with you. Never forget where you come from. The boy beamed with pride, feeling a deep connection to the stories of Atlantis, as if the distant past had suddenly become real to him. As the class applauded, the air around Mr. Fiero and Lady Jane began to shimmer. The children gasped as the two figures faded into a swirling mist, vanishing from sight. Mr. Fiero, as his voice echoed through the mist. Time calls us, Jane. Another adventure awaits. And with that, Mr. Fiero and Lady Jane disappeared, leaving the classroom filled with whispers of wonder and excitement. The boy stood there, his heart racing as the mist settled. He had learned something that day, that his family came from the legendary city of Atlantis, and that the courage of his ancestors lived on in him. As he left the classroom, he couldn't help but smile, knowing that the legacy of Decidian and the lost people of Atlantis would never truly fade away. The end.